And good afternoon from our Edinburgh studios. We are live, and you are listening to All In with Ali, your spot on Vaquero Radio, the Valley student station for sports news and takes. It's currently 3:30 here in our Edinburgh studio. It's nice at about 86. And I was thinking today, you know what? It's going to be a show. We're probably going to talk about the Super Bowl a little bit just to lead off the show, but then bombshell of all bombshells dropped this past weekend. And you probably know what I'm talking about. Luka Doncic has been moved to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis and a first. Really? Is that all the Mavs could have gotten for Luka? That's probably the first reaction that a lot of folks had to this trade, and just the fact that Luka got traded was pretty shocking. I mean, I certainly in a million years did not expect this. You have a 25-year-old superstar who's about to enter the prime of his career, who wants to stay in Dallas, who has said that he wants to stay, who is loved by the fans, loved in the organization, and then all of a sudden he just gets moved just like that. First of all, that part in and of itself shocking. But to only get in return Anthony Davis, who, no disrespect to Anthony Davis, but this isn't 5 years ago when Anthony Davis was in the prime of his career. He's getting up there in age. He doesn't play as much as he used to, especially given his injury history. And a first, you're really telling me that's all the Mavs could have gotten for Luka. I was as shocked as anybody. I was surprised that Nico Harrison, who said that the Lakers were the only team that he consulted in, that he spoke to regarding this trade. And I mean, there was more than a few teams who would love to have an all NBA caliber point guard, a generational talent like Luka Doncic on their team. And the only team he spoke to was the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, if you were going to shop Luka, you could at least, talk to other teams. There's 28 other teams in the league you can speak to regarding a trade like that. And I mean, I was surprised. Mavs fans I just got to feel so bad for the man, because this was their guy, This was the guy that was supposed to lead the franchise, who was supposed to have their number next to Dirk Nowitzki in the rafters. I mean, it set up perfectly. Dirk Nowitzki, who gave his entire career to the Mavs organization, and whose statue was built in front of the American Airlines Center. Luka was supposed to be the guy to have the statue next to Dirk Nowitzki's. He was supposed to be a Mav for life, it seems like. He was the reason a lot of players, especially guys like Kyrie Irving, wanted to go to Dallas to play alongside a generational talent like Luka. And now he was shipped off for pennies on the dollar and for Anthony Davis. What does this mean for both teams? Well, for the Lakers, it means you got your generational talent, who not only today can serve up good lobs to LeBron, who can be that other scoring threat alongside him today, but in the future, the Lakers, they got their guy for the next decade or so. They got their superstar, and the Lakers love making moves for superstars. It's Showtime, it's LA, it's what they're all about, and the Lakers have their guy. And today, for the Mavs, this means that your top three are guys like Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, and Kyrie Irving, who, no disrespect to any of them, they're great players. They're just not in the prime of their careers like they were years ago, and who are now today in 2025 very injury-prone players. Nico Harrison said this was a win-now move. But I don't understand how you can say win now when you move when you make a trade supposedly to improve the roster, but you ship off the guy that took you to a conference final the year before and who took you to the finals just last year. That's the shocking part. I mean, a lot of this is shocking, but the surprising part is that the Mavs are in the finals last year, and that's mostly because of Luka Doncic, who, mind you, took them to the finals on a bad leg, and who came up with so many great moments in that playoff run. It felt like the Mavs are going to be back there for sure. And listen, you'll never know how this trade works out until we do. That's why we play the games, but I'm just as shocked as anyone was at this move. I mean, Mavs fans are devastated. In fact, the day after the trade was announced, they were putting up memorials and putting up tributes to Luka Doncic right outside the stadium. And I honestly don't blame them, and I don't blame if any of them jumped ship from their support of the Dallas Mavericks, because this, if you're a Mavs fan, this has to be an absolute gut punch. You move your franchise guy for Anthony Davis, and who you could have got a lot more for Luka Doncic. I mean, look what the Thunder got for Paul George. All those first round picks, they basically built a new team around that trade, and today they're one of the top teams in the West. You look around to another trade we're going to discuss. I mean, the Kings still didn't get as much as they could have for Fox, but if you move a guy like Luka Doncic, you certainly expect a lot more getting back than just one first. You're demanding at least 3 or 4 firsts for a guy like that. I mean, there's a lot. There's so much to unpack with this move. And this will probably be known as the trade heard around the world. Literally, as soon as this trade was announced, his life stopped for a brief minute. Do you remember where you were when Luka got traded to the Los Angeles Lakers? I remember exactly where I was at Applebee's with my friends, and I look down, scroll on my phone, and I just see, oh, Luka got traded. No way. When a lot of people's first reactions to this trade was to assume that the reporter who broke the trade, shout out Shams from ESPN, he broke it as soon as it happened. When a lot of people's first reaction was to assume that he got hacked, that's how you know, like, there's no way this is real. And it was. Also, another winner from this trade, Jerry Jones. He can say he is no longer the most hated general manager in Dallas, and that title now goes to Nico Harrison, who not only talked to the Lakers regarding this trade, not only didn't talk to any other team in regards to shopping Luka, he didn't even consult Luka Doncic himself. He didn't consult his coach, Jason Kidd. In fact, very few people outside of his little inner circle knew that he was going to move Luka Doncic. And this has to be a huge blow inside that organization that your own general manager moved your superstar without not only talking to one team, but without consulting basically everyone who you'd want to consult when you're making a move like this. And this trade was just a shock. A shock that paused the NBA world, and in fact the sports world as a whole paused for a few seconds because of this move. And as for what the future holds for the Mavs and for the Lakers, well, that's yet to be determined, but the way things stand now, this was a real head scratcher of a move that's really got you wondering what the Mavs are doing. But in other trade news in the NBA, another team's got their guy, and that would be the San Antonio Spurs. They traded for De'Aaron Fox in a 3-team deal that involves the Sacramento Kings and the Chicago Bulls. De'Aaron Fox is going over to the San Antonio Spurs alongside Jordan McLaughlin. Zach LaVine gets shipped to Sacramento, and the Kings receive 3 firsts and 3 seconds, one of which is probably going to become a second-round pick because it's the Hornets pick. And then the Bulls receive Trey Jones and Zach Collins, and they get their own pick back. The loser of this trade's probably got to be the Chicago Bulls, just by virtue of they're only getting their own pick back for moving Zach LaVine, who's played some good basketball this year, but they probably could have got a bit more. San Antonio Spurs easily won this trade. De'Aaron Fox is one of the best guards in the league. He's just an incredible playmaker. And he's already got that experience of playing with a talented big man like Domantas Sabonis. He was playing with Sabonis over in Sacramento, and now he gets to throw lobs to Victor Wembanyama, I've spoken at length as to how good Victor Wembanyama is. We've all seen it. He's going to be incredible. He has the potential to be the face of the league for the next decade and a half. To pair him alongside an all-NBA guard like De'Aaron Fox. And then not just that, you keep Keldon Johnson, you keep Jeremy Sohan, you keep Stephon Castle, who you picked at number 4, and you keep Atlanta's pick, which the way the Hawks season is going, it's looking more and more likely that that's going to be a lottery pick. This was a A-plus move by the San Antonio Spurs, who now have their guy at point guard. What's next for the Spurs? They're probably going to try to find a backup center after having traded Collins. Some of those minutes that Collins played left a little something to be desired on that front, but the Spurs have their guy, and that would just about do it for trades in the NBA. A lot of blockbusters, a lot of moves still left to be made. What's going to happen to Jimmy Butler? Who knows? Would we have that next week? Hopefully. Trade deadline's up this week, so if you want to tune in, find out what else happened, we'll have that for you in next week's show. We're going to take a break here on Vaquero Radio. Stay tuned. We'll have more sports after the break. You're listening to All In with Ali on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. Welcome back to All In with Ali. We are back here from our Edinburgh studio, and while we're on the subject of trade discussions, we'll move on, shifting gears a little bit to some trade rumors in the NFL. Breaking as of today, Myles Garrett, who is the all-pro defensive end for the Cleveland Browns, has requested a trade from Cleveland. And look, I'm not surprised, given the disastrous direction, mind you, that the Cleveland Browns organization has taken these last few years. You give up all that capital to get Deshaun Watson, who not only has barely played, but when he has played, he's been a detriment to the team. This team is in no position to win anytime soon, and Myles Garrett, I guess he just saw the writing on the wall, as many of us did, and now he says he wants out, which I would not blame him one bit for wanting out of the mess that is Cleveland. As to where he'll go, well, many teams are gonna want Myles Garrett. Who wouldn't? He's incredible. He's probably one of the best defenders in the National Football League. I got the opportunity to see him play last year, and he's every bit as good as advertised. He's been every bit as good as advertised his whole career. And now any team that needs defensive help, well, give the Browns a call. Myles Garrett is open to being moved. Staying with the NFL, Texans have just hired their offensive coordinator. This also breaking today. Nick Caley, who was the Rams tight end and pass game coach, is now the new offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. This guy was sought after by many teams, including the Pats and the Jets. But he found his home in Houston, and he's willing to work with C.J. Stroud. He's willing to work to help the team get through its O-line issues. What do I think? I think I really like this hire. I really do like this hire. we're gonna expect. What could we expect? We could probably expect McVay West Coast style offense, a little bit more gap and spread style offense. What does this mean for the Texans and their draft implications? Maybe because right now I think biggest need the Texans have is interior O-line. That's number one, and more importantly is interior O-line, because C.J. Stroud was just getting killed behind that turnstile of a line last year. They were giving up so many sacks. There were so many plays for loss because the line just completely broke down when you needed it to. But this represents a huge change from the Texans who just not too long ago let go of Bobby Slowick. But does this mean that they could focus on getting a tight end? I know that's been a position of need for the Texans this year. Dalton Schultz had a decent year in the pass catching category, but as a blocker, he wasn't good at all. Cade Stover still needs time to develop. He's had some injury issues, but he's been solid when he's been on the field. So who knows? They could go the route of drafting a tight end if Tyler Warren's still available down at 26, where the Texans have a pick, which I see no reason why he should drop down to 26. Somebody's going to pick him up. Who knows? Maybe go with a Colston Loveland, or take interior O-line round 1 and then round 2, perhaps tight end or wide receiver. But if they decide to go tight end in the draft early, that means they're probably going to have to pick up or trade to pick up a wide receiver 2 in free agency alongside Nico, because that's another need that the Texans have is wide receiver. Stephon Diggs is probably going to be gone in free agency. Tank Dell's had injury issues. So who do you want as your number 2 alongside Nico Collins, who's one of the best wide receivers in football? Who knows? If the Texans really do want to go the tight end route, they're going to have to pick up someone in free agency or make a trade. And if they do decide to go the wide receiver route, the wide receiver interior O-line route in the draft, they might pick up tight end down lower in the draft, or trade, or sign. Who knows? A lot of possibilities for Houston right now. When we come back, let's talk UCL. Let's talk the South Texas Showdown and much more coming up after the break. And we're back from the break. Welcome back to All In with Ali. Be sure to tune in to Vaquero Insider Thursdays at 1 p.m. Don't forget. All right. So a little bit more on the Luka trade from earlier. This, according to ESPN's Tim McMahon, executives around the NBA are reportedly furious that the Lakers were the only team allowed to bid for Luka Doncic's services, which comes as no shock. I mean, when the Lakers are the only team that were consulted or even discussed in this trade, and that the Utah Jazz were a third team in this trade for salary and draft purposes, but they didn't even know that Luka was the main piece being moved in this. This was played so close to the vest by Harrison and by the Lakers front office. There was a very tight circle kept on this, and I wouldn't be surprised that quite a few GMs were shocked. I mean, there's a lot of people are saying that David Stern back in the day would have vetoed this trade, and I would not have been surprised if this was David Stern's NBA. He would have vetoed it. But the trade's already gone through. League office is already open. They've been notified. Luka's in LA. There's nothing more that can be done at this stage if you're a Mavs fan. And I'm sorry that I feel so bad for Mavs fans because that's their franchise guy, you know? Anyway, back to UCL results from the last week. Real beats Brest 3-0. Rodrigo, standout performance for him. He always seems to come through in the Champions League when the lights are brightest. I don't know what it is, but he always comes through in those situations. AC Milan lose shockingly to Dinamo Zagreb 2-1. And Barcelona-Atalanta They draw 2-2, which that looked like it was going to be not a for certain win because nothing is guaranteed in sports. But up 2-1 with 75 remaining, and to give up and concede that draw has got to be tough. Going back, South Texas Showdown this happened this week. Back to the UCL. We'll have more results from the main draw. We know Man City and Real are going to be the big draw for the next round. We'll have more analysis on that in next week's show. Let's go back to the South Texas Showdown. UTRGV men's and women's basketball teams faced off against those respective programs against Texas A&M Corpus Christi and earned the sweep. First game, women's basketball, 55-37 win. Charlotte O'Keefe keeps rebounding. I mean, she's one of the best rebounders in the country. Kayla Lorenz, 15-point performance from the freshman. Incredible stuff. And that was a great game. They played great defense. The offense was going, and the rebounds just kept falling for Charlotte O'Keefe, who now has the program record for rebounds as a junior, which is incredible. Props to her. Keep it up. Men's basketball knocks down Texas A&M Corpus Christi, 88-73. DK Thorne, 21 points. Marshall Destromal, 6 for 6 from the field, just raining down buckets. And the Vaqueros, for the UTRGV men's basketball team, when the threes land, they can roll with anyone, and we saw that here. And to do that against the top 3 team in the Southland Conference like A&M Corpus is absolutely incredible. Both games, electric atmosphere at the Fieldhouse, and that's something we love seeing. Go out, continue to show support. Admission is free for students, so if you ever have the chance, go to a game, cheer them on. When we come back to All In with All E, we'll have analysis for the Super Bowl for you. That's coming up because it is Super Bowl week. Both teams are in New Orleans right now, and we'll have that. We'll have On This Day in Sports History and more coming up after the break. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to All In with All E on the Valley Student Station. And we're back. Welcome back to All In with All E. This is the segment that I was going to lead off with to start this, to analyze the Super Bowl, but, the Lakers and the Mavs had other plans, but we're here. We're doing this Super Bowl analysis time. What do we got? We got the Chiefs. We got the Eagles showing off on Sunday at 5:30. It's Super Bowl week. And, we're not in radio week here. We wish we were in New Orleans over in radio week here on Vaquero Radio. Instead, we're doing it nice and comfortably from our Edinburgh studio. Let's break it down. What do we got? Well, the Eagles have a really good defense. That was a really big issue for the Eagles last year. It's why they ended up losing a lot of games down the stretch. But they addressed it and then some. And that unit has been pretty solid for the Birds all postseason long, in fact, all year long. Chiefs have also had similar success on their defensive front. Chris Jones is incredible. The Eagles have some great corners. They got they got some great corners and linebackers. CJ has been incredible over there all year. So there's a lot to show on the defensive front. On the offensive side, Saquon Barkley and the O-line for the Eagles are going to be huge reasons why they will win. Why the Eagles are going to, or what they're going to be a huge reason on what the Eagles are going to rely on for the Super Bowl. I mean, Saquon Barkley's just been a perfect addition for the Eagles offense this year. He's just been running all over everyone, and especially behind as strong of an O-line as the Eagles have. It's a match made in heaven for Philadelphia, and I don't know how the Giants let Saquon walk. On the other side, Mahomes to Kelsey's been a reliable connection for in the playoffs in the past for the Chiefs. It's going to continue to be that case for the Chiefs, and that's going to be what they're going to rely on. So, what am I predicting is going to happen for this game? Well, I don't think it's going to be like that much of an offensive shootout, but it's absolutely not going to be a defensive game either. It's not easy to repeat as Super Bowl champions. It's definitely not easy to three-peat, and I think here's what I'm predicting, and this prediction, who knows? It'll age well, it'll age horribly, but here it is. Saquon Barkley is going to make a huge difference in this game. I think that the Eagles O-line can go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs front line. That running game is going to open up the passing attack for the Eagles. And, drum roll please, I got the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Kansas City Chiefs 35-33. Saquon Barkley will be named Super Bowl MVP with 2 touchdowns. This is definitely not because I don't want to see the Chiefs winning or anything. This is what I think looking at it from a completely rational standpoint, what I think will happen. I think the Eagles, they've kind of felt that loss against the Chiefs when they last played in the Super Bowl. I think they're gonna be going out there with the chip on their shoulder, and they want to get their. I know Jalen Hurts wants his get back from that game, and so the Philadelphia Eagles will be your Super Bowl champions in 2025. Who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be a great game, I think. What do we got for on this day in sports history? On this day, February 3rd, 2008, Eli Manning and Tom Brady meet for the first time in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. And this was one of the great upsets in Super Bowl history, as Eli Manning and the New York Giants would go on to defeat the New England Patriots 17-14. And this would be the first of 2 times that both of these quarterbacks would meet. And of course, Eli Manning is 2-0 against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I mean, Tom Brady, greatest of all time. I think that even if Mahomes manages to pull off the three-peat, he's barely in consideration, but it's going to be very hard for any quarterback to take the greatest of all time spot ahead of Tom Brady, because for starters, Tom Brady coming out of retirement and then absolutely beating the brakes out of Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, that's one reason why I would put Brady over Mahomes any day of the week. That's one. And number 2, all I got to say, and I'm sorry if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan and you're listening, 28-3. That game was just Tom Brady at his absolute best. You're down multiple scores in the third quarter of the Super Bowl, down 28-3, and to just stay in it and keep on going down the field and leading your team to victory as Tom Brady did on that night. I mean, I and most of us assumed the Falcons had that game won. Who know what is it's I if you ask me, it's a bit of both Tom Brady being Tom Brady and the Falcons just tripping all over themselves. This is either the greatest comeback or the greatest choke in sports history. It's in the stinger introducing this show. That's the final touchdown that sealed the deal for the Patriots, is the stinger to end this show and to start the show. And that would be number 2. It is not just any quarterback could have pulled off that comeback. Tom Brady, when push came to shove, he absolutely showed up and showed out in that game. And then there's, the whole 7 rings versus 3 argument. Right now Mahomes has won the Super Bowl 3 times. Tom Brady has won it 7 times, 6 as a Patriot and 1 time as a Buccaneer. And I think it's going to take a while and a few more Super Bowls for Patrick Mahomes to even be considered in the GOAT debate. More program notes on what's coming on Vaquero Radio. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for In the Know with Coleman Beck, live from our Edinburgh studio at 4 tomorrow. If you missed our newscast today, it's available once again at 11 a.m. And at 1 p.m., we got Coffee Noise here in Edinburgh. Library Thursday, packed programming slate. Library Talk at 10. RGV Community Health at 11:30. And Vaquero Insider at 1. And we got office hours with Vaquero Radio's very own Dr. Velez at 10 a.m. What do we got next week on All In with Ali? As for what we're going to have on this program, well, the NBA trade deadline is this week, so we'll have all those NBA trades wrapped up and discussed. Where will Jimmy Butler go? We'll have to wait and see. What other moves? What are the Spurs going to do after they get De'Aaron Fox? What's next for the LA Lakers? Who's gonna get the center that they need between those two teams? Because, you know, Spurs need a backup big, and the Lakers, they need a center, period. We'll have that, and we'll have analysis and takes from the Super Bowl. Because that show is going to happen the next day, right after the game. So be sure to tune in for analysis, for hot takes regarding the game, and for anything else regarding that. And as well, we'll have breakdowns for the next round of the UEFA Champions League as well. So we're going to have a packed slate of programming for next week's show. Don't forget to tune in. We'll be here ready to discuss all those great topics. Well, that about wraps it up for us here on All In with Ali. Thank you so much for tuning in, and listening. I know we had a lot to unpack with the Luka trade, and I'm still just as shocked as anyone is regarding this move. But we'll have more for you next week. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you. Thank you so much, Vaqueros. Have a great day.